We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories.
This is more than just an economic issue. It is a moral emergency. It affects our whole society.
Deputy President Paul Mashatile says entrepreneurship is the key to a better future on the back of high unemployment numbers. The official death toll in the flood-ravaged Eastern Cape has risen to 90. The third group of SANDF soldiers returning from the SADC mission in the DRC has landed at the Bram Fisher International Airport in Bloemfontein.
صدایی که شنیدید فضای غبارآلود استادیوم
Middle East tensions escalate as Israel's airstrikes hit Iran's state TV building. Good evening and welcome to Prime News on 3. I am Paulette Nell. A pleasure it is to be in your company this evening as we bring you news in and around your world. But first, let's start with this. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has urged young people to seize the moment and be part of the upcoming national dialogue set to begin on the 15th of August this year. Mashatile was giving the main address at the 49th commemoration of the class of 1976. The National Youth Day event took place at Potchefstroom in the northwest, the province that currently has the highest youth unemployment numbers in the country.
16 June honors the youth of 1976. On this day, 49 years ago, they faced the apartheid regime head-on. The bone of contention was ban to education and especially the imposition of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. The youth of today, although living in a different era of democracy, have their own challenges. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has urged the young people to go out in their numbers to take part in the upcoming national dialogue.
To the youth of our country, do not give up in pursuing a better future for yourselves and a better future for our country. Your voice, your ideas, and your energy are the fuel that will definitely build this country.
The Deputy President says, as much as government acknowledges the plight of young people, the eradication of problems facing the youth should not only be an economic issue, but also a moral mission.
This is more than just an economic issue. It is a moral emergency. It affects our whole society and demands urgent action from all sectors, government, business, and the community at large.
Don't forget SABC News, Potchefstroom in the Northwest Province.
Struggle cleric and anti-apartheid activist Dr. Alan Boesak says true freedom in South Africa will only be achieved once the basic living conditions improve for impoverished communities in the country. He says many South Africans are still struggling to afford the high costs of living despite the hopes of a brighter future they had following the end of apartheid.
Youth from various schools attended the Youth Day event at the Dalsy September Hall. Struggle cleric and anti-apartheid activist Dr. Alan Boesak addressed the group, reflecting on the significance of Youth Day and the sacrifices that were made for freedom for all in South Africa.
Young people said, we are sick and tired of our parents being treated as if they are nothing. My mother will no longer be called a girl. My father will no longer be called a boy. Ek is nie jou tuinjong nie. I am going to carve out a future for myself. And that's when young people took hold of the leadership, and it was no longer an uprising. It became a revolution.
Reverend Busak led a march to the Trojan Horse Memorial Site in Athlone to mark 40 years since the massacre occurred. On the 15th of October 1985, members of the security forces and railway police ambushed a gathering of youth who were protesting against the apartheid government, killing Jonathan Klaassen, aged 21, Sean Mahmoud, aged 15, and Michael Miranda, aged 11. Several others were also injured.
Every generation must understand the demands of its time. And that generation did, as this generation today must understand the demands of your time, because the struggle is not yet over.
A wreath-laying ceremony was also held at the Trojan Horse Memorial Site. Corbin August, SABC News, Cape Town.
Umkhonto weSizwe Party leader Jacob Zuma says South Africa's youth must liberate their country and lives in the true sense of the word. Zuma was delivering the keynote address at the Youth Day commemorations at Claremont Sports Ground in the south of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal.
We are still oppressed, but the oppression of this time is at another level, and we should not accept it. The youth is here. When we started, we knew that we could not do everything one day. That will come slowly and slowly and until we reach our destination. The youth has a role to play in history. When the old organization, the ANC, was established, it was just people, old people. But that organization, because it was very clear about what we're doing, they established an organization within the organization of young people. It was that group of young people that pushed the revolution very far.
Meanwhile, EFF leader Julius Malema is preparing the party's ground forces to take on the MK party in the upcoming local government elections. The EFF was hammered in last year's general elections by former President Jacob Zuma's party.
The EFF is mounting a fight to regain lost ground in KwaZulu-Natal. Malema is rallying his party's supporters and members not to give up, but to tackle the problems the party faces after electorally being destroyed by the MK party at last year's polls.
We cannot continue to mourn about losing the elections last year. That was a lesson. We must fight now. That belongs in the past. Stop giving apologies, provincial chair. It is done. We are now fighting forward.
Malema also ripped into the MK party and Zuma. The EFF leader labeled the MK party as useless, with a leader who mobilizes along tribal lines.
We are very proud of the KZN leadership today. What you did here, that's what you do when you fight back against the enemy. You cannot lose power to an old man and say Zuma is the future. How can the old be the future?
Malema also used the June 16 rally to call for the resignation of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Patoy. He called the NPA an embarrassment that loses cases in court due to being ill-prepared.
We say to Mkwanazi, Pesquabo, you must never retreat. You must make sure that KZN becomes a better place. The NPA has failed completely. There is no NPA in South Africa. That's why the head of NPA must resign with immediate effect.
Malema further lambasted the cost of the national dialogue that was initially estimated at 700 million rands. The EFF has called the dialogue to be scrapped and for the money to be used to finance a free decolonized higher education. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Umlazi.
Welcome back. Now on to this. The Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen says government should do more to stimulate growth and economic opportunities for young people. The party held its national commemoration of June 16th at Mahushu village in Mpumalanga.
The day started with a peaceful march to pay tribute to the youth of 1976 who had the courage to fight for their rights under difficult circumstances. Steenhuisen says they are worried that young people of this area are neglected and their vision is to create more jobs for the youth.
After 30 years of broken promises, they're going to back a party that is serious about growth and jobs and has demonstrated that it delivers jobs. The unemployment rate in the Western Cape is 20 points lower than the rest of the country. That shows with the right government interventions, the right policies, and using the right levers of the economy, we can move this economy from a stagnant, job-shedding economy into an economy that's creating opportunity and jobs for the youth.
The provincial DA youth leader says the biggest problem in Mpumalanga is the alarming high rate of unemployment.
We want to actually ensure that in the province we create more jobs. We must actually ensure that we instill proper policies that are going to develop young people, not only for them to only carry certificates, but for them to have skills that are going to take them forward in order for them to find employment and expression in the workplace.
According to Statistics South Africa, the province's first quarter unemployment rate for this year for youth aged between 15 and 34 stands at 49.2%.
Social Development Minister SABC Tolashe says they will ensure that there is no wasteful expenditure while assisting flood victims in the Eastern Cape. Tolashe visited the flood-hit Mthatha to assess the damage and ensure help is rendered where required. The official death toll has meanwhile risen to 90. 60 of the victims were adults and the others were children. 80 bodies have been identified, of which 77 has been released to their families.
Some families continue to identify their loved ones at the local mortuary. Humanitarian services are also being provided to victims of the floods. Many people have been devastated by the disaster. They hope that the government will give them houses in a safe area.
My heart is very painful. I don't know what to do because I'm not working. Our government says if you are over 35, you can't get employed. I don't know the kind of life I will live. I don't know where I will try to get a job. We even think of selling our bodies.
Retrieval operations are ongoing.
So our search and rescue teams are still being intensified. We do know the first group left today, but we still have the second group, the team from Limpopo here. If needs be, we will deploy a third team to come into the province by Wednesday and Thursday.
The importance of keeping a close eye on the spending of relief funding was highlighted.
We all agreed that we must bring our internal audit committees so that as we spend, they can assist and look closer whether we are spent accordingly. We spend accordingly. If there's a need to redirect anything, that decision must be taken and informed, because we don't want to sit like it was the case with COVID, with fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
A day of mourning has been scheduled for Thursday. Nomzwanele Mngoma, SABC News, Mthatha.
The third group of SANDF soldiers returning from the SADC mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo has landed at the Bramfisher International Airport in Bloemfontein. The 220 soldiers are returning home as part of a phased withdrawal from the mission area. The SANDF says upon their return, the troops will undergo the standard demobilization program, which includes health screenings, psychological support, and the reunification services. SADC and the East African community took a resolution to withdraw all the foreign troops in that country to pave the way for peace talks. Tomorrow, the fourth group will also be returning home. Now to the latest out of the Iran-Israel war. Iran's state television reported that its broadcast was disrupted after the building came under multiple Israeli strikes. Here's the footage of that moment.
به خاک جمهوری اسلامی ایران و منطقه صدا و سیما که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلود استودیو
Meanwhile, expectations are high in Canada as world leaders meet to discuss critical global issues. The group of 7 countries, namely Canada, the United Kingdom, United States, France, Germany, Italy and Japan, have gathered in the mountain resort of Kananaskis.
A number of world leaders have landed in Canada to attend the G7 summit in the Canadian Rockies. There's plenty on the agenda, including the escalation of the conflict between Israel and Iran and the US tariffs and their effects on the global economy. US President Donald Trump is also attending the session. South Africa is represented by President Cyril Ramaphosa, who on the margins of the summits held a bilateral engagement with Canadian Prime Minister Mike Kenny.
Thank you for the continued wonderful bilateral relations between Canada and South Africa. We've had a long relationship, and we're very proud of the way that we deal with each other. We support you with fires, you support us with investments.
Kenny says they'll always appreciate South Africa's leadership, especially in the fractured global environment.
Much in your hands at a crucial time, and if I may say, from a Canadian perspective, the strength of the ties between our country are great, including down to the level of assistance in natural disasters.
Global attention has turned to the Middle East, where strikes by Israel and Iran have raised the risk of an escalation of the conflict in the region. The subsequent oil price spike has added to concerns.
I reiterated Europe's commitment to peace and stability in the Middle East. In this context, Israel has the right to defend itself. Iran is the principal source of regional instability.
Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, with that, it's now time to check out what the weather has in store for us. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. We are seeing some partly cloudy skies over the northeastern corner of South Africa tonight, but clear weather conditions over the central interior. There is, though, an approaching cold front in the western parts of the country, but this will not result in any significant weather conditions over the western parts of South Africa, except for some very strong winds over the Northern Cape and even reaching the Karoo region of the Northern Cape province for tonight. There is, though, a slight chance of rainfall tomorrow afternoon along the coastal areas of the Western Cape in the south and even reaching the Eastern Cape later on in the evening as a result of this passing cold front, and some partly cloudy skies will persist over the northeastern corner of the country, with clear weather conditions still expected over the central parts of South Africa for tomorrow afternoon, and temperatures will go below freezing over the central Free State and some areas in the Northern Cape and Kimberley. We're expecting a minimum of 0 in Bloemfontein as well, -3 over Bethlehem, and cold weather conditions will here in the Gauteng province, Johannesburg dropping to 5 and 6 over Pretoria, 3 over Mahikeng, 12 degrees for Musina, 13 over Richards Bay, a minimum of 12 degrees for Gqeberha, and 13 degrees over the city of Cape Town, and rising to a mild 18 degrees in the mother city, 21 in Alexander Bay, 24 degrees will be the maximum temperature in Uppington, mild conditions for Bloemfontein at 17, 18 in Johannesburg and Bethlehem, and 19 degrees can be expected as a maximum temperature over Pretoria. Very warm weather conditions though throughout KwaZulu-Natal, especially along the coastal areas at Teguen at 25 and 26 degrees over Richards Bay. And in the new week, we're expecting a very good chance of rainfall in the south coast of the Western Cape. Another cold front will bring cold weather conditions with some rainy weather conditions also expected over the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. Otherwise, clear weather conditions will persist over South Africa on Tuesday. And that is all from the weather desk.
That concludes our time together this evening. Much gratitude for joining us. Until next time, good night and God bless.